Hi, we have Mr. Aniket with us. He presented the life cycle assessment whole presentation, which was amazing. He does LCA training at TUV Sur, and he's done multiple training batches, 30 batches, around 900 trainings he has done, which is amazing. And it was a very insightful presentation, and I got to learn a lot. So after the presentation, I have a few questions. What are your biggest challenges in conducting reliable LCA studies in the Indian real estate context, like data availability, standardization, or stakeholder awareness?
Yeah, so I think that's a very important question as far as LCAs are concerned, because if you look at the LCA outcome, it's the impacts, potential environmental impacts we are talking about, and we calculate those impacts based on the data that we collect over the whole system boundary, which is you start off with the cradle, which is birth of the natural resources, and you go on till the end of life when the products are discarded, and it sort of goes through pathways like landfilling, incineration, recycling, reuse, etc. So the quantum of data that is required for doing these LCA studies is huge, and having access to all the data is the biggest sort of limitation, and for that reason we have to work with a lot of secondary data. So there are two types of data, primary and secondary. Primary data is one which you measure from the plant or the factories where the products are manufactured, and secondary data is something which is created by these LCA database suppliers. So there is a lot of error in the form of uncertainty which gets into the calculation. So the biggest challenge that we have, and as far as Indian context is concerned, is the quality of data, because most of these LCA database providers, they come from let's say mostly Europe or the Northern American region, and their data is relevant for those geography, but at the same time it's not all doom and gloom. So we have good data coming up for the Indian processes as well, but still it's the biggest challenge that we are facing. As far as standards are concerned, again the standards also comes from the European or the North American zone, and we need to sort of adapt those standards to our Indian conditions. So I think that is also something which we look at it as a challenge, but that's something which comes behind the data part. So that we just saw from today's session that awareness is something where there is a lot more work to be done. We need more such sessions, more such interactions with folks from diverse industries, not just from manufacturing, but you need to sort of get in touch with people from, I don't know, economics, architecture, design people, marketing people, so that everybody understands what this whole LCA thing is about. And then that would lead to sort of creation of a certain demand, which then I think the way the capacity is being developed in India, so we have more and more postgraduates getting trained in the field of life cycle assessment, and hopefully the capacity would be enough to cater to that demand. So I think awareness would be the first step, followed by demand on LCAs.
So like you mentioned about it, LCA is basically from raw materials to the demolition. You think if we actually follow this, it will help the future generations, and it will be better for the future generations? And how much more should we adopt LCA?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very pertinent question, because the whole sustainability domain exists to achieve this, right? So you want to consume in a manner that you don't affect the future generations' capacity to maintain their consumption.
Right.
So I think life cycle assessment is a tool which gives you the holistic picture. So you get to see the real picture of what is happening, okay? And then what do you do with it is up to you, okay? So if you look at other sort of frameworks and other methodologies, they tend to sort of focus on certain aspects of the whole life cycle. But the best part about LCA is its consideration of all life cycle stages, and there is something called avoidance of shifting of impacts, which happens because we consider everything, right? Nothing gets lost.
Right.
So what happens, so if you make a certain design improvement, that design improvement is sort of benefit of that design improvement could be seen up till the end of life. So for instance, you manufacture a product which has good recyclability. So what happens after the product comes to the end of its life, you can still recycle it. So there is less waste going out there. right? So if all products are designed keeping these sort of aspects in mind, so normally what they focus on the performance of the product and cost, right? They want to make it cheap and they want to have a very good quality product.
Right.
Now the focus on what happens to the product when you put it in the bin, that's something nobody worries about, right? I'm talking about the design people.
Right.
So the moment you focus on that, then you will have less waste being generated and we will have lesser problems to deal with. So I think life cycle assessment is a no-brainer and it gives a quantified data. So it's like I give this analogy in my training program. So when you go to a doctor, a specialist, the specialist would always ask you to undergo certain tests before diagnosing you and prescribing you something. So LCA is like that diagnosis. So you diagnose the whole system and then you know where the problem is. Then the experts, all the folks that we had in the session today, they can come in with their expertise and provide solution. And I think that's the most logical approach that we should have in sustainability.